Please welcome Assemblymember Alex Boris. Please welcome State Senator Cordell Clear. And please join me in welcoming the 57th Governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good morning, everyone. I am President CEO of DASNY, Robert Rodriguez. It is a pleasure to be here with you, introducing the governor of the great state of New York. No one has worked harder to make New York a safer, more livable place. So with no further ado, we want to move straight into the program and talk about the tremendous efforts of the governor and the legislature. So with that, I want to introduce our governor, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Today, we're taking the first steps to extinguish the scourge of lithium-ion battery fires here in New York City. And I want to acknowledge so many individuals who care deeply about this issue. And let's think about the fact that on a Friday afternoon, last February, our firefighters were called to a Harlem apartment fire that was engulfed in flames. They arrived, they were trapped residents. They were gasping for air, pleading for help, screaming outside shattered windows. The black smoke was visible and enveloped them. And suspended on ropes hanging from the roof, brave firefighters scaled the edge of the building, trying to pull people through the windows and lower them to safety. One man did die that day, a 27-year-old, Fazil Khan, who had come to this country in search of a new beginning, came all the way from India to pursue his dreams. Jelani Cobb is the dean of the Columbia School of Journalism, where Fazil earned his degree, and he's with us here today. Jelani would tell you that this young man was a kind soul, talented, relentless in his pursuit of investigative journalism, exposing injustices in the education system. Who knows what a young man like that could have accomplished? The work he might have done, the lives he might have changed had he lived that day. The blaze sparked by a lithium-ion battery from an e-bike that was charging on the third floor. He lost his life, brave firefighters risked theirs, in a fire that was totally preventable. So I want to thank individuals who stepped up to hear these cries for help, starting with individuals like our DASNY President, Robert Rodriguez, who as Secretary of State, worked on this initiative tirelessly. I also want to thank Cordell Clear for her vision in crafting legislation just this very session, working with other members of the legislature. I want to thank Senator Ewen Chu. Senator Chu, thank you so much for all your advocacy and support of protecting individuals. Assemblymember Alex Boris, one of our co-sponsors as well, thank you so much. Assemblymember Chris Ickes has joined us as well. Thank you for all the work that you've done, Assemblymember Ickes. Assemblymember Manny de los Santos, understanding what it's like when these fires hit neighborhoods like his. Assemblymember Jeffrey Dinowitz, thank you for all your hard work on this issue as well, Assemblymember. Assemblymember Stefani Zinnerman, thank you. You've been a great advocate. I want to thank you for all the work you've done with us as well. Also, we have people who understand the dangers. We're fortunate to have Commissioner of FDNY, Laura Kavanaugh, joining us here today. Let's give her a round of applause, Commissioner Kavanaugh. An individual who represents the uniformed firefighters of Greater New York, Andy Ansborough. I want to thank you and your members for putting their lives on the line every single day so we can sleep soundly in our beds while they're out there protecting us. I also want to recognize Rabbi Michael Miller. Where are you, Michael Miller? Who has his own story to tell that we spoke about his horrific accident that he's still recovering from, and he looks like he's doing well with one of these e-scooters. And we'll be talking about this further on some of our initiatives on that. So today, and all the other electeds here, I see Gail Brewer has joined us as well, and Luis Popolvit and others, other members who are part of the delegation here in the City Council and also from our state legislature who've done so much. I also want to thank so many others for all the work that they've done. So let's talk about what we're doing here today. Let's talk about the fact in New York City alone, lithium-ion batteries sparked 268 fires that injured 150 people and claimed 18 lives. You know what the number was just a couple years ago? 0. 0 people lost their lives. So today, I want to announce some new measures pertaining to e-bikes, scooters, and moped safety on the roads. And shoddy lithium-ion batteries have quickly become one of the most dangerous objects in our city. Look at the danger. Look at this. Look at this. Without warning, they can malfunction, overheat, ignite, and explode, causing this level of destruction. They're often uncertified, poorly made, sold with no clear safety instructions or recommended precautions. And as I said, these are tough fires to fight. These batteries don't catch on fire like kindling. They explode like a grenade. They spew toxic gas and chemicals everywhere. For our first responders, it's like arriving at the scene of an arson where someone poured a gallon of gasoline on a home right before lighting a match. That's how explosive this is. That's how fast the fire spreads. And often they're battling more than one blaze because battery cells ejected in the initial explosion spark a second fire somewhere else in the building. And the spike of these fires clearly coincides with the surging popularity of e-bikes, particularly during the pandemic. People became more reliant on food delivery services. Now, this idea has been good for our city in many ways. They help small business owners deliver goods and groceries, kept many restaurants going. They're good for the drivers who can transport food faster, make more money. Many of these delivery workers are immigrants who race door to door to make a better life for their families. And they became essential workers during the pandemic. But I don't know if they know that they might be on a ticking time bomb. Think about that. How would they possibly know the battery that's within the vehicle that they're riding? So up to now, not enough has been done to educate people, empower them, how to charge the battery, how to store the battery, how to operate the bike safely. And we haven't put a check on the greedy manufacturers that put profit over safety and flood the market with cheap, malfunctioning batteries. Here in New York, that changes today. In a few moments, I'll sign a package of bills to protect New Yorkers from the dangers of lithium-ion batteries. We're going to create one consistent quality standard for all lithium-ion batteries that they must meet. And batteries that don't meet those standards are banned. And if companies try to cut corners and sell substandard batteries, we'll slap them with costly penalties. These new laws will also promote awareness about how to safely charge and store the bikes. Now, it's also important that this information is not provided at the point of sale. That's where you have the customer in front of you. That's when you can have that conversation. That's when you can give them the information. So the Department of State and the Department of Homeland Security, and I want to thank Commissioner Jackie Bray, who is with us here today, for her incredible work on this, public safety, and for what she did, giving me minute-by-minute description of every part of the state of New York yesterday during some historic weather conditions. I want to thank you for your leadership of this agency. They'll develop a robust set of resources on safety and the best practices, and now will require retailers to include an operating manual. We'll also require e-bikes to come with a bright red tag on the charging cord explicitly stating they should never be plugged in once the battery is fully charged. Counterintuitive, right? You'll think it doesn't matter if it remains charged and plugged in. But this is part of the dangerous conditions that these cause. This is a frequent cause of the fires right there. Another new law stipulates that specific training materials be sent to firefighters so they know the best practices for putting out fires sparked by lithium-ion batteries, not just here in New York, but as I was speaking to county executives around the state yesterday, I spoke to them about this. This is becoming a problem even outside the city where it really started in earnest. While faulty batteries are a significant issue, we also know there's major concerns about pedestrian safety once the e-bikes are on the street. In many cases, crashes happen because of confusion about the rules of the road. Today, I'm signing a law that requires all e-bikes, all e-scooters to come with a warning sticker that clearly states that the bikes must always yield to pedestrians. And if any retailer flouts this rule or any rider sells an e-bike without the sticker, they can also get hit with a fine. We'll have the ability to enhance e-bike safety also by compiling more information about the crashes because they're not recorded now, where they're happening, how often they happen, who's involved in these crashes, is there a pattern? We don't have that data right now. We need that. We can use that to create smart, informed policies right now because we just don't have it. They're not even investigated or solved, reported. People just say it's not worth it, nothing happens. That changes today. I'll also be mandating that any time an individual is hurt with a collision with an e-bike or scooter, it'll be investigated by law enforcement. And that data will be sent to the Department of Motor Vehicles here in the state of New York. We'll also require all mopeds purchased in New York to be registered at the point of sale. Right now, they're not registered. You don't track these. You don't know who owns them. So like so many e-bikes, once again, it's the mopeds, it's hard to track down who did what happened. How do we help people? So with these new laws, my team will have what they need to devise additional measures to ensure e-bikes, e-scooters, and mopeds are safely operated on our streets. And I will say this with our legislators who care about this deeply present. We're not done. We're going to continue finding ways. We have other opportunities in the next legislative session to sit down and be creative and figure out what has not yet been solved by this initial, I was going to say battery of legislation. I stopped myself. Because keeping New Yorkers safe is my top priority and the top priority of our legislators here today. Today is a win for consumer safety, it's a win for public safety, and no one should ever, ever worry that an e-bike they use to make a living is also putting themselves, their families, and their neighbors in harm's way. No one should fear that the e-bike charging down the hall could go off like a bomb any moment. And no firefighter should ever risk their lives because some cheap manufacturer cutting the corners had to make an extra buck. These new laws will hold reckless battery makers accountable, build awareness on how to handle e-bikes, and also protect our first responders. And the bottom line is we're going to start saving lives. Thank you very much. I want to introduce our next speaker, a champion for this cause. She has stories in her own district that have touched her deeply. We've spoken about them. And I want to talk about Senator Cordell Clear and her passion for fighting for her constituents, but also saving lives with this initiative. Senator Clear.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor Hochul, for signing these bills today. It is critically important. I also want to thank our leader, Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins, for bringing these bills to the floor in our House. And I see my colleagues here, Senator Kavanaugh and Sepulveda and Senator Chu, for your support on this very important issue that's plaguing this entire city But sadly, the 30th District has been a victim of these battery fires. And in fact, early this year, as the governor explained, in the midst of winter in the Hamilton Heights section of my district, the FDNY responded to a lithium-ion battery fire, and in a rarely used method, were able to, thank God, rescue 3 people dangling from a window with the rope method, but sadly, a life was lost as well. And this is not the first. And we have had several fires where thankfully lives may not have been lost, but the damage to property, the damage and the trauma that people have suffered, the loss of possessions, and mind you, this is also a loss of housing when we lose units, which is also very critical in our district, and we really have to do something about it. So this is just one of many examples in my Senate district that underscore the fact that we need to take thoughtful, thorough, and collective action to minimize and mitigate the likelihood of new fires by increasing safety awareness, training, and research. Fortunately, today, a whole package of bills become law, including a couple of pieces of legislation which I have sponsored, which require retailers of e-bikes to provide customers with an operating manual detailing safety procedures. Also, S8742, which would incorporate training for lithium battery emergency response into the Office of Fire Prevention and Control Specialized Hazardous Materials Emergency Response Training Program. And 8743, which directs the Department of State in consultation with the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services and the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority to develop and maintain safety resources, information, and protocols in regard to fire hazard prevention relating to lithium-ion batteries. You know, this is new to us, this technology, and it's great. It has provided us with wonderful forms of transportation, as the governor described. It has increased workforce. It has provided income for so many people, and we want that. We're happy for that. But we want to be safe as well. And it is horrible to be in your home, sleeping, thinking you are safe, and someone else could have a battery charging in their home, and a fire breaks out where you or your family members could be harmed. So we have to make sure that this is safer. And again, I want to thank the governor for signing these bills and assuring that we can begin to make absolutely certain that all of our homes are safe and that lithium-ion battery fires are prevented. Thank you. And it is my job to introduce the next speaker, who is the assemblyman that seems to be everywhere and on everything. I welcome Alex Boris, Assemblyman Alex Boris. Thank you.
Senator, I'm just taking after you, being everywhere. That's thank you, and thank you, Governor, for bringing us all together. E-bikes move fast, really fast. But today we show that New York State's government can move even faster. Since e-bikes were legalized in 2020, they have had benefits. They've expanded economic opportunity for New Yorkers. They've provided fun new recreation possibilities, and they may contribute to our climate goals. But they've also brought along many costs, and it's been clear that the state needs to take action in order to reduce those downsides. Last year, my office put together a street safety report, which looked at every e-bike and moped fire and every collision of any vehicle in New York City over a 3-year period. We found that e-bikes were 28 times more likely to cause a death than a normal bicycle. 28 times. Now, that doesn't let cars and other vehicles off the hook, and I commend the governor for her announcement just 2 days ago of the crackdown on ghost plates and other attempts for bad drivers to evade responsibility. It's so important. But this action today is reaffirming our commitment to keeping all New Yorkers safe from any source of risk on the streets. The package of bills we have today is both an obvious set of common sense solutions, but also quite sweeping in its reach. Assemblymember Dinowitz's bill ensures that only safe batteries are sold in the state going forward. A.M. Zinnerman's bill ensures that those who buy micromobility devices are given an operating manual about how to operate them safely in multiple languages. A.M. Ekus's bills ensures consumers are informed of the need to unplug their chargers and to follow traffic laws. A.M. Taylor's bill ensures that fire departments are prepared and trained for battery fires, and A.M. De Los Santos's bill ensures that the public at large is educated about these risks. And I want to thank their Senate counterparts as well, Senators Krueger, Clear, and Chu. Thank you. Today, we're also including my bill with Senator Cooney to ensure that we collect accurate data on all crashes, including e-bike and moped vehicles that are currently excluded from accident reports. We also include my bill with Senator Hoylman-Siegel requiring mopeds be registered at the point of sale. When we put together that report that I mentioned back in September, focused on New York City, we found that even though mopeds are required, they're already required to be registered in New York State, they almost never are. Less than 5,000 were registered in the city of New York. And I don't know how many mopeds actually exist on the street, but I know that NYPD seized over 12,000 unregistered ones last year alone. So before I end, I want to, on a personal note, say it's moving to see Rabbi Michael Miller here. The people of New York State and indeed the world owe him a debt of gratitude for a lifetime of service. And it is so horrifying to think about how easily his collision could have been deeply, deeply tragic. If anyone deserves a safe, comfortable, relaxing retirement, it is him. And yet here he is, still in recovery, advocating for an issue to make all New Yorkers safe. And in fact, this very morning, texted me some ideas of new things to do next session on this issue. So thank you for continuing that. And to the rabbi's point, and as the governor rightly pointed out in her remarks, you know, mobility patterns will continue to evolve, and government will continue to improve the rules of the road. And no one is saying that this is the last that we will do on this issue. But what we are saying is that unambiguously, New Yorkers will be safer the second our governor picks up those pens. So, Governor, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for being a leader on this issue, and let's make New Yorkers safer. Thank you. And it is now my honor to introduce the Commissioner of the Department of Homeland Security, the person who keeps us safe from everything from fires to tornadoes to cyber threats. I don't know when she sleeps, but the fact that she's doing all this work is what allows all of us to sleep at night. Commissioner Jackie Bray.
That is a nice introduction. Good morning. I want to start, Governor, by thanking you for your support of the fire service writ large. I know we're here to talk about batteries, and I will do that, but I think it's important to just acknowledge what a friend you've been to the fire service and really all of the assembly members and senators here with us today. You know, you've always been a friend to the fire service, and as governor in the last 3 years, you've just so put your money where your heart has been, or this state's money where your heart has been. Over the last 3 years, this governor has put aside $25 million for capital investments in firehouses and fire apparatus and fire equipment. We have launched a stipend program for the vast majority of our fire departments in New York State are all volunteer fire departments, and we're now going to pay them for training. This budget includes money for community risk reduction efforts that will go in after fatal or near fatal fires to galvanize a community at a moment when people are really paying attention and might be more willing to absorb safety information. And we've invested in big ways. This governor's invested in big ways at our fire academy. There are 17,045 fire departments in the state of New York. About 100 of them are career departments. The rest of our departments are all volunteer. And while this threat, this hazard, this incredibly deadly threat and hazard has been focused in New York City, as the governor said, we are seeing this now around the state. Last year, State Fire trained 56,000 firefighters over the course of 12 months, of which about 4,900 were trained in lithium-ion battery response and disposal and what to do. And that included both how to manage fires caused by micromobility devices, but also how to manage the fires we have seen at our large battery storage facilities, at our large solar farms, and on our roads. We've also trained 725 DOT and Thruway employees on how to manage fires caused by these batteries when they're not in a home. I also want to say that we've been investing through this governor in firefighter safety and wellness and health, and I want to give a shout out to the FDNY commissioner, who I know has made this, Laura Kavanaugh, a part of her work as well. Firefighters take on a tremendous amount of risk, and that risk extends well beyond the fire. Rates of cancer in the firefighter community, not only to firefighters, but often to their families, are higher, and that is both about 9/11, but also well beyond that. State Fire has trained 833 fire departments in what we call gross decon. That's how to get safe immediately after a fire. And we've handed out over 1,000 gross decon kits to over 450 fire departments. Commissioner Kavanaugh, I hope FDNY joins that effort with us in this coming year. All right, let's talk about batteries. You know, one of these bills being signed today is about educating the public, and one of these bills being signed today is about educating firefighters, and I think both are incredibly critical. And as so many people have already said, this is a first step. You know, New York can't do this alone, and so I want to echo the governor and Commissioner Kavanaugh. While New York is leading the way, and we're proud to lead the way, we also need the online retailers and the manufacturers to step up. We need our federal partners to join us to enforce federal regulation here, because the safety, we should not put a price on the safety of New Yorkers and the safety of our firefighters. Thank you. Let's sign some bills. We're done. Let's sign some bills.
Please remain seated as we sign the bill.
Photo, you need to be crouched down or seated. We have a lot of television cameras back there who want this shot too. Thanks. Here, right, step over this way. Hey, you. Whole crowd at once. Crouch down. Everybody needs to be crouched down. If you haven't signed the bills yet, you haven't missed it. Okay. Okay, sign half of it. Photog can move out of the way so the TV cameras can do it. That would be great. Thank you, everybody. Sounds like a bunch of happy folks. Let's take the crowd up here.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending today's event. Please quietly make your way to the exit. Thank you.